Hello and welcome back to Choice Bits of Bliss. My name is Cilla. Today we're going to be doing our November installment of Through the Rainbow. And this month we're focusing on the color black. But before we do that, I wanted to keep a promise. So last month when we were doing gray or silver, I had completed my layout. I didn't have a title on it yet, and because I wanted to research this artwork that was in the pub. And what I've learned is that it's just artwork. There's no great meaning behind it. And I thought that there would be, because it's featured on like mugs that were in our rooms, and it's on the wall in the pub. So it's just something that somebody liked and did and created. That's it. So I went ahead and completed my title. We stayed at the Stonewater Bed and Breakfast, and the pub, the Stonewater Pub, was part, downstairs and part of the bed and breakfast. And I did my journaling, and this layout is complete. It's actually ready to go in an album. Will it make it to an album? Well, stop asking nosy questions is what I've got to say. This month, I'm going to do something a little different because I have a lot of black paper, black and white. And over the years, especially when Tuesday morning was in its heyday, I would buy those 25 packs because if it was diagonal stripe or just striped or polka dot, I would always tell myself, I can always use that. And I still believe that. I can always use those really basic designs, especially in a very basic color like black and white. So my neutrals, I tend to have a good bit, and I didn't want to sit here and flip through tons and tons of black and white paper. It's black and white paper. Some of it's, variations of black, but it's black and white paper. But what I decided to do is flip through this paper pad that I keep in my black category. I looked it up online because there's not a date on here, and I was really curious when it came out because I know I bought this in my previous scrapbooking life before I took that long break. And from what I can tell, this collection came out somewhere in 2010, 2009, 2010, which is right at the end of me hanging up my scrapbooking hat for a few years. So let's just flip through it. The thing that surprised me is I love it just as much today as I did when I purchased it. And I got this at Hobby Lobby. The sticker that was on it, I tore it off last night. It was $19.99. I know for a fact I did not spend $19.99 on it because I would always wait until paper pads went to half price and then I would purchase them. So this paper has a texture to it. I don't know if you're able to see that, but every single sheet has a texture. They're one-sided, which is fine. No problem. The thickness is not thick. I would compare it to something like maybe Photoplay, Echo Park, except for it has that texture. And this one has that pearlescent view. That pearlescent view is not the right word. I'm gapping at the moment. I'm not sure what the word is. It's pearlescent though. You can see it on the back of this. Sheen. Sheen is the word I'm looking for. Okay. This one is flocked. So I love this paper pad. And I was telling my friends last night, I've done this over the years. This has been sitting in my color category, rotting. I've not touched it. I've not used a single piece of paper out of this. And this one, friends, this one is die cut. So these are let's see if I can separate it a little bit. These are banner, like, yeah, they're little banners. Every single line. So cool. So there's a lot of different uses you can get out of this paper pad. We're back to that pearlescent. I just stinking love this. Now, we are going into, you know, we're into November, and I'm really not sure what I'm going to scrapbook. I have no clue at all. Here's another flocked design. But I think we're repeating. Yes, we're repeating now. This has 24 papers. And it says 8 flocked, 12 shimmer, 4 die cut, and foiled. Are they foiled? Did I miss that? Okay, I guess they're calling that black foiled, maybe. Okay. Anyway, I love this. Why have I just let it sit on the shelf? I don't know. And one of the things I was telling my friends last night, if you told me to go to my entire color category and create a layout, I would probably crawl in the corner and suck my thumb and cry maybe a little bit, because that's overwhelming to me. And this challenge that just takes one color at a time that we can focus on has actually helped me. It's helped me to clean out every single color. It's helped me to use something that I had in my color category. And it's made me feel like it's a part of my creative process and part of my creative room now, instead of just taking up space. So for me, this challenge has been super beneficial. I enjoy it very, very much because it breaks down something that's overwhelming to me into bite-sized pieces. That's my brain. We all have different brains, but that's my brain. And I tend to dig into my who's and whys. So if you feel similarly, this may be something that you resonate with. But I always try to figure out, why am I doing what I'm doing? And is there a solution? Is there a workaround? Is there a way to be better? I'm not great at everything. I'm not, but that's just my personality. I try to figure out a way to be better. All right. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pick out some papers out of here. And I think the entire layout will come from this paper pad. That's how I'm going to challenge myself. I want to use every element from this paper pad. So, excuse me. We're going to pause, and I'll be right back with my selections. This is what I've selected so far. So these pieces are from the die cut sheet, and I'm going to play with those. I have selected this sheet, and this sheet from the paper pad. I've also pulled out one piece of Basil Natural cardstock. Now this is smooth. I thought I may be doing matting my photo. I just know that this needs to be beefed up just a tiny bit, not a lot. And anything that I add to it is going to start creating structure for the layout. So even though individually these three pieces are not that thick, when they're together, they create a stronger base. So I'm not sure. We're just going to play because I'm not sure how I want to do this yet. And I know I'm not going to use this as a base. What I really like is how this is already created that framed design. And I'm not hugely fond of this, you know, just florally kind of, it's too fancy. We're not going fancy. So this will be my base. I do know that. And then we're going to start creating our layout on top of this. I decided that I wanted to do the stripe design framed inside of this frame that's already pre-made. And I wanted this to peek out a little bit to give it some relief, but not be able to see this really feminine design back here. So when I layer it on top of each other this way, you can't see it. There's a hint of it, but you don't get that impact. You don't get that sudden feminine impact. And that is what I'm trying to keep away from. Well, I started working and putting things together and I went too far. It's done. It's all together. And I'm not going to pull everything up to put it back together. We're just going to have to use our imagination a little bit. So I talked about the fact that the paper was thin and that when I add elements to it, it starts becoming more sturdy, more substantial. And that is exactly what happened. I decided that I needed, first of all, I had no clue what I was going to scrapbook. I didn't know what story I was going to tell. But one of the things I noticed that in the paper that, let me find it, this paper that I chose, there were references to restaurants or cafes. And so I decided, hey, let me look up some pictures in restaurants. And I've told y'all this before. I love Google Photos. I love it. I don't have to do anything special. All my photos automatically upload to it. And I can put in crazy search terms like restaurant. And it brings up every memory that's inside of a restaurant. It searches by location. It searches by what's inside the image. I just love it. So I put in restaurant as my first search term, and I came across these photos. And once I came across the photos, I started remembering, and I was instantly back in this situation. So I'll tell you the story about the photos, but let's talk about the layout first. So once I started playing off of the cafe, restaurant, that kind of those terms, and then I found my photos, and then I started thinking I need a pop of some other color. Now the photos are colorful. I could have gone 100% monochromatic in this, and I decided no, I wanted to bring in a pop of color. So I started looking for things that had color. Now this is Daisy D's. I know it's old, but I don't know what year. I could look it up real quick, but let's not do that. And this is from Chatterbox. They've been gone for a long, long time. We know this is old. Let me see. What else did I use that was old? I thought I kept everything out. Oh, these rub-ons from the Paper Studio. They're 2005. Old. Work like butter. Amazing. And these are some things that are not so old that I used. I used these Felicity Jane, this Alpha from the Amanda collection. They're from 2020. This is Rosie Studio from This Is Us collection. These are just puffy sayings. And this is a cut file that I used. I love this cut file. I like because it has these breaks and skips in the design. It just looks tattered and I love it. So I cut out a ton of these. So I just started kind of playing around with different elements to bring in some interest to this layout. And I like it. I like it. So let's talk about the story behind these photos. These were taken back when I worked for sales for headquarters for the Postal Service. And our sales territory was the entire state of Alabama and the entire state of Mississippi. So we traveled all the time, every day we were traveling, because our individual territories for the two states, I could travel 6 hours one way just to go see a client and then have to travel 6 hours back. Now, for those trips, we would stay overnight at the location, but we had to make sure we were seeing a client or two on the way back so that that trip paid for itself, basically. It was an exhausting job, and I started working I got that job in 2019. I had worked it for a year when the pandemic happened and we had to go home. So we were just in upheaval because we were no longer able, because that's a lot of times face-to-face contact is how you clinch that sale. We couldn't go face-to-face. So we had to do Zoom meetings with clients and phone calls. A lot of people were not set up and ready to do Zoom meetings when the pandemic happened. So pivoting is not always an easy thing. And I can tell you from experience, the companies that pivoted quickly were very, very, very successful during the pandemic, and their sales and their shipment skyrocketed. But not everyone was able to do that, and the Postal Service struggled a little bit. They struggled with the value of sending their professionals home to work. Were we going to be able to still bring in the money? And we did. Our team specifically did. We all excelled. But this photos were taken in November of 2020. This was our first in-person meeting. My manager was wanting to give out, awards and things, because our team specifically had been just a raging success and had exceeded all of our sales goals by quite a bit. So he wanted to do that in person, and we traveled to Meridian, Mississippi to go to Weidman's, which is a popular restaurant. So we had to wear masks to the tables. We could sit at the table without masks. Then if we got up to go to the restroom or to leave, we had to immediately put our masks on, and they would say something for sure. If you forgot and wanted to go to the restroom, they caught several people and ask you to go back and put your mask on. So it was a delicious lunch. It was so good to get back out and physically see people again. We enjoyed ourselves immensely. This is just part of the team, and this is Vicky. She and I struck up a fast and great friendship. I just think God has, over the years, sent me exactly who I need in my life when I need them, and I've not always recognized that. And scrapbooking helps me remember. Sales was a stressful job. Vicky decided she wanted to end her career in the South, and we had a position that came open in Alabama. Now, she had a choice between Alabama or Tennessee to land in, and she got the offer from Alabama first before she got the offer from Tennessee, and she decided to join our team. She came from Wisconsin, and she considered me her soft landing spot, and I considered her a little bit of mental salvation because we just were able to commiserate with some of the stress that we dealt with on our job, and it was wonderful. She was just, like I said, a fast and lasting friendship. We are still friends to this day, even though she retired and I've come to New York. So this is just how life is sometimes. However, when I got into Google Photos and I saw these photos, the series of photos that I took that day, and saw my team members, and I don't miss sales, not even 1 ounce. I don't. But the people that I was on the team with, they're precious. They are really, really precious people. And the team that is now serving the state of Alabama and the state of Mississippi has completely been revamped. Completely. So this is just a moment frozen in time. It's poignant because of the pandemic, and we were finally able to get to be together again, to be in public, and to see people in person. And it's also historical because this team no longer exists. None of these people are on the same team anymore. So it's there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack in here. And I may take the very same photos or different photos from the same day and tell different parts of the story. So I've got my journaling done. I have my title done. This layout is ready to be put up. I laugh because I don't always put my layouts in albums because I don't think my boys are going to want them. But they will be ready. Every layout that I create, whether it's in an album or not, they will be ready for them to look through. And they can choose what pieces of me, because this is me. This is about my career. They can choose what pieces of me that they want to keep. And what pieces of me, like my thousands of photos of leaves, they may not want all those. And that's okay. I scrapbook those for me. So I don't put those in my albums. But my boys can choose what they want. All right, friends. This is the end of my layout for November through the rainbow. All month long, somebody is going to be posting a layout. And I hope you're going through and enjoying all of the inspiration. I hope you enjoy the challenge. Come back and we will chat again soon. Bye-bye.